All right, we're back. Hey guys, this is Dr. Osborne. Welcome to your, what are we going to call it? Your mind adjustment. So, the United States got a birthday present on Inauguration Day, the day that Joe Biden was sworn into office. The World Health Organization, in all their graciousness, they decided to initiate new rules. They initiated new rules regarding the PCR test that we've all heard about. You know, the one they stick and tickle your brain, right? So even though those tests have been widely used across the United States and the world over, I don't know, the last year to actually determine whether somebody has a positive case of COVID or not. What they found was that the PCR tests, the assays, they're just not designed to be used as diagnostic tools. Well, that's interesting, right? And they also found that they really can't distinguish between an active virus and a live or a reproductive virus there. So besides that, previously the WHO had recommended what's called an amplification. It's where you have to amplify the sample to actually be able to sense it. And they had recommended a 45 amplification. That means 45 cycles of the test to determine whether somebody was actually positive for COVID or not. So the thing is this, is that the more cycles that a test goes through, the more likely that test is going to be a false positive. And it will come up with, basically a false positive will come up with anything over 30 cycles. Anything over 30 cycles actually magnifies the sample so much that even an insignificant amount of viral DNA might end up being magnified to the point where the test reads positive. Think about that. So they've been recommending a 40, anything over 30, and then that magnifies it so much so a test reads positive. So even if your viral load is extremely low, because we're all going to be exposed to a virus, and the virus is inactive and poses absolutely no threat to you or anyone else. Anything over 30 it really amplifies it to that point. So what that means in plain language is this: that the more cycles that a test goes through, the more false positives that are going to be reported. Now, I know we've all heard about false positives in the news. So the good news, the WHO took care of that for us. The WHO now lowered the PCR thresholds. It's practically guaranteed that the COVID case numbers will automatically drop around the world. So congratulations, because somebody decided to lower the testing levels, guess what's going to happen to the number of positive tests? They're going to go down, and we've been basing all of our lockdowns on positive tests, right? COVID-19 vaccine experts, they're, on a side note, are now telling their families not to hug children even after they've been vaccinated. Oh, that's crazy, right? And another thing is warnings have come out of like Birmingham University, their Institute of Inflammation and Aging, and they actually said this, and this is in the news of the weird, right? They said that relaxing social distancing rules, such as hugging, will actually reduce the benefit of vaccination. What? What are you talking about? They said even if things like vaccination passports were implemented, which would actually let people know if you had a vaccine, they said that hugging could actually send the wrong psychological message. Think about that. Like, we've come to a point where researchers are saying that hugging will actually send a wrong psychological message out to others there. So sometimes I feel like I'm in like the Twilight Zone, right? So here's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you a new message, okay? First of all, hugs boost oxytocin. Elevated oxytocin levels, they lead to lessening of things like anger and loneliness and isolation. Kind of an important thing during a time of quarantine and isolation, right? For the last 25 years, I've gotten hugs every day from our patients, and then all of a sudden to not have them, I was feeling isolated. Hugs raise your serotonin levels. Elevated serotonin levels, they improve your mood, they create happiness, and they actually help you to regulate your sleep cycles there. How about this? Did you guys know that hugs actually release endorphins? Endorphins are your body's natural painkillers. Think about that. So getting a hug will actually soothe your aches and pains. And they're telling us that we have to be aware of getting hugs because it's going to send the wrong message out there. How about this? The hugs actually increase dopamine. So when somebody eats sugar, it's your pleasure centers, it's your reward centers of your brain. What have people been doing this whole time in COVID times is they've been trying to eat more and more, trying to get that reward, right? More drinking, more drugs. When it makes you, the dopamine makes you happy, it releases depression. So when you get a hug, it releases depression and just makes you feel good all over. The other thing is that hugs actually reduce the circulating levels of cortisol. What cortisol is it's your stress hormone in your blood there. So cortisol, is, like I said, is known as the stress hormone. So when you hug someone, you reduce the amount of cortisol that's circulating in their blood, and hugs actually alleviate stress and calm mind. By the way, cortisol is a steroid. That's what they give people to suppress their immune system when they've had like an organ transplant. So when you hug somebody, you're actually raising their immune system. Hugs lower your blood pressure. Hugs activate these pressure receptors in the skin called the Pacinian corpuscles, which actually sends signals to the part of your brain that's responsible for lowering blood pressure. This is crazy, right? This is crazy time. We can be so afraid of being sick that we forget that we can actually be healthy. You know, but the more important is this: hugs strengthen your immune system. Look, guys, hugs help stimulate your thymus gland, which actually regulates your body's production of white blood cells. These white blood cells, these are the things that fight off disease. These are the things that your body needs to fight off a virus or a bacteria or whatever it runs into. And last, I would say, is that hugs actually relax your muscles. Hugs relieve just tension throughout your body. They soothe pain, and as a result, what they're going to do is they're going to increase circulation to the soft tissue and actually relax your muscles. But I guess that one of the reasons why after you get adjusted, you know, my job to adjust you is to help balance out your nervous system, and the hugs actually balance out your nervous system. Those same Pacinian corpuscles, which help to lower your blood pressure, they also help to balance out the nervous system there. So guess what? The longer the hug, the more balanced your nervous system becomes. So go home and hug your kids. Go home and hug your spouse. Go home and hug people. Let them know that they're loved. You know, look, I guess the last thing is just forget about everything else I said. Hugs are just awesome, right? You know, you don't need to read about the physiology behind a hug. We've all had a hug before, and hugs are just awesome unless you got issues being hugged, right? And I can't help you with that. Hugs help us connect at a time like this when we're disconnected, right? They help us connect with our loved ones and the people in our lives, and they actually feel great, and they actually have a similar effect on the body as laughter. Remember, they always say that laughter is the best medicine. Well, I would actually argue that hugs are the best medicine. They have the same impact on your body as meditation by helping you detach from stress and connecting you full with mindfulness and happiness. So I'm just gonna ask you, give someone you love a hug today, right? You know, the bigger, the better, the more hugs, the merrier there. So like I said, but in continued story that we seem to be seeing every single day in the news of the weird, right? This Birmingham University, their finding was that people might actually think the vaccine passport to freedom, like, you know, we call this, they're talking about a vaccine passport, but they think their vaccine is a passport to freedom. And they're afraid that those people that haven't been vaccinated will see people that have actually received their vaccine and think that they too are actually free to change their behavior, right? So, I don't know. They're going to think that their concern was this, quote unquote, why should their concern was, why should I bother social distancing if nobody else is doing that either? That's their worry, right? That's their real worry that they have at this moment. My goodness, like, there's bigger fish to fry than hugging somebody. I think we have bigger worries in this world than if people feel like they can actually hug again. And like I said, it's about fighting disease or building health. You always lose when you're fighting disease. So I guess onto a little common sense. And I think this is I would just want to let you guys, remind you guys that every day is D-Day. D protects your body against COVID-19. And now there's evidence out there that not only does it help boost your immune system and protect you against COVID-19, it actually protects your body against life-threatening cancers as well. What? Yeah, it's actually been quite a year for vitamin D. Finally it's come to the forefront that it's one of those key vitamins that protects us from the COVID-19 infection. Like, there's no doctor out there that would disagree with that. A new study actually that just came out discovered that it also has, it can actually block life-threatening cancers. So having good serum levels of vitamin D, not only does it reduce our risk of developing fatal cancer, the type that has spread or metastasized, the study found that it actually was able to reduce the spread of cancer by nearly 40%. Think about that, provided you're not overweight and you're not obese. Do you guys see a trend here? See, these are the key factors. So whether you got COVID or cancer, you cannot be overweight and call yourself healthy. There's just not enough supplements in the world that can overcome the damage that you're actually doing to yourself and to your body on a daily basis if we're overweight. I know and this is nothing to do with fat shaming. This is nothing to do with loving yourself. This is just anatomy and physiology. This is just common sense. This is just real truth. So either way, regarding vitamin D, the average protective effect for people of all shapes and sizes, no matter if you're overweight or underweight, is about 17%. So like it reduced the risk of spread of metastatic cancer by 17%, even if you were obesely overweight. And this was done at in a women's hospital in Boston. So although vitamin D is called the sunshine vitamin, most of us actually just don't, especially right now, right? Don't see enough of the sun to keep those levels up. Remember, you have to be, your shadow. You have to be taller than your shadow. Noontime sun, 20 minutes. And so one of the best ways is to top off your vitamin D levels. Obviously, is by supplementing or supporting your body every day. What's interesting in this Brigham study, they found that nearly 26,000 people were given either a dose of 2,000 units of vitamin D, or they were given a placebo every single day for 5 years. So this is a really good study, and they found that the amount they were taking, it's actually far higher than the RDA. RDA for me means recommended death allowance, just the amount to keep you from dying. But the RDA is only 800 units for people older than 70 and 600 for younger adults, and that's significantly lower than the Vitamin D Council's recommendation of 1,000 units for every 35 pounds of body weight. Isn't that crazy? So to build health, you have to do different things to stay not sick. So for those of you that in the sun-starved northern regions of the United States, or actually right now in California where there is no sun because it's been raining, or really anywhere north of Atlanta, as one study discovered, when it actually measured the serum levels in a group of Bostonians at the end of winter, they found that 2/3 of people were actually deficient. What if we actually made sure everybody was sufficient and pure, right? So studies have shown that about 40% of Americans are just deficient in vitamin D all year round, and that deficiency raises to around 80% if you're African American or Hispanic. So despite the name, look, vitamin D is not a vitamin. It's actually a steroid hormone, and it's produced when cholesterol on your skin is actually exposed to sunlight. So what happens when you put all the sunscreens on there and interfere with the sunlight being able to get to your skin? But the thing is it has to be a strong summer sun to actually start that process there. Most of us cover ourselves up. We have hats on. So that's why we're deficient. So the foods that we eat that deliver vitamin D, it's in one of two forms. You're going to see vitamin D3, which is cholecalciferol. That's going to be found in things like fatty fish and egg yolks. And then vitamin D2. It's an ingredient in some plants and some mushrooms and yeast. But D3 is the one to really focus on. The important thing to understand is it's not what you take, but how your body uses it. And they've been found it's almost twice as effective at increasing levels in your blood. But whichever way, you get the message, right? It should be clear. Every day should be D-Day, right? So in this time, I just want to make sure next time you're in the office, make sure you pick up your vitamin D. Make sure you supplement accordingly based on your body weight, not based on what the bottle says there. You can also go to our website at drtjosborne.com. So guys, I just want to thank you for, we've had probably 11,000 views on our videos in the last week. Just remember that, 7 days without an adjustment makes 1 week. So I will see you tomorrow for another, mind adjustment. And the reason why we're doing this is we got to adjust minds before we adjust spines. We got to change how we think, because how we think determines how we act, and our actions determine our outcomes. So this is Dr. Osborne, and I will see you guys soon.